Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Room Floor. This is where I go a little deeper into something from a recent message here at Sunny Slope Church. A lot of times I find that when you work through a passage or a text and you try to get it ready for a sermon, you have to leave out some stuff that is interesting and relevant, but you just can't get into everything in one message. So I like to go a little deeper and take you into something that into a part of the text that you'll find, I think, interesting and maybe relevant and helps you maybe to know your Bible just a little bit better. I'm gonna our most recent message here at Sunny Slope was from the Gospel of Luke chapter 9. And we started in verse 18 and we took the story all the way till the end in about verse 36. And those are really two stories that fit together. The first story is Jesus asking his disciples, who do people say that he is? It's a question of Jesus' identity. And Peter answers that question. And then from there, we go into an event that we call the Transfiguration, which is the changing of Jesus such that he reflects and displays the fullness of his glory. So there's a detail in this that we did not really pay much attention to. In fact, we didn't really pay any attention to it yesterday. And I want to show you what that is right now. I want to take you here to our text. And I want to show you, if I can get my my note-taking tools here. I want to show you this word. This is what our interest is today. The Son of Man. There are two times in our text here that Jesus uses this title for himself. Let's highlight it in blue so we can set it apart from the text. Let's do this a little differently. Twice, Son of Man and the Son of Man. The question is, what does this title mean? You will actually, if you read through your Gospels, you will come across this phrase or this title quite a number of times in your New Testament. And I wonder if you've ever given any thought to really what that means. Why does Jesus use that title? Here's what we're going to do. I want to take you to a simple search of that title. So when we go and when we search for the phrase Son of Man, you actually find that it shows up in the Gospels 82 times. So there are 82 times when Jesus refers to himself, or I should say more accurately, there are 82 times when we read that phrase Son of Man in the Gospels. Now, you just break it down and do some simple math. That's about 20 times per Gospel. Nearly all of those occurrences in the Gospels are Jesus using that title to refer to himself. So if you look in here, this will give you the verse references, and then you'll see where we find that. So Matthew 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17, 19, 24, and so on. Mark, all these times you see over and over again, and just about every time is an occasion in which Jesus is using that title to describe himself. It's not that other people are calling Jesus the Son of Man. Jesus is calling himself the Son of Man. In fact, this is the most preferred title that Jesus uses for himself. And so it's obviously in that sense a very important title. It tells us something significant and important about Jesus. If this is the way that Jesus refers to himself more than any other title, that should clue us into the fact that it's an important descriptor of who Jesus is. We can redo our little search here with the magic of Logos Bible software, and rather than just searching in the Gospels, we can search for all passages. And then you'll see that we come up with 193 references in our Bible. 193 times the title Son of Man is used. Now, in this case, it's not always used to refer to Jesus, and it's not always a title that's used to talk about even a divine being. So I'll just give you one example. Here's Job chapter 16, verse 21, and we can kind of pick it up in the middle where it says that that he would argue the case of a man with God as a son of man does with his neighbor. How much less who is a maggot and the son of man who is a worm. Psalm 8 is perhaps the most well-known reference in the Old Testament where we actually come across this title when we're not talking about Jesus. What is man that you are mindful of him, the son of man that you care for him? When the Bible is using this title, but not talking about a divine being, in other words, when the title is not being applied to Jesus or another in terms of his divinity, the meaning seems to be emphasizing the frailty and the weakness of human beings. It's meant to emphasize just the weakness and the limitations and you might say the smallness of human beings. In other words, right, you see that in these verses that I've highlighted here. The son of man who is a worm, your wickedness concerns a man like yourself and your righteous, or wrong verse. What is man that you are mindful of him, the son of man that you care for him? So you can kind of see the emphasis is on our puniness, you might say, next to in the cosmos. Again, Psalm 144, the son of man that you think of. So it emphasizes our humanity, it emphasizes our frailty, it emphasizes our weakness. There's a whole lot of other verses all throughout the Bible. The book of Ezekiel features this title very frequently, but in the book of Ezekiel, it's a title that is used over and over again to the prophet Ezekiel. And again, the emphasis is on Ezekiel's frailty, his limitations. We can just kind of, if we scroll down, you see these verses here. These are all the verses and the references in Ezekiel. So the point and the emphasis here is on, again, the weakness and the limitations of humanity. Now, probably the most significant passage in understanding just what this Son of Man is found in, here are annotations here, is going to be found in the Old Testament book of Daniel. And I have that already here up on my screen. Let's do it this way. Oops. It's in Daniel chapter 7. So we turn there now for just a moment. And in Daniel chapter 7, Daniel has this vision, and it turns out that this vision becomes very important as you go into the New Testament. It's an idea that's referenced quite a few times. Here's the reference. Daniel has a vision, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, there came one like a son of man. And he came to the Ancient of Days, was presented before him. And here's what's important. He was in him, to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, so that all nations and peoples and languages should serve him. And then the second idea, your dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom shall be one that is not destroyed. So there's this idea that the Son of Man is coming, this future king who would come, and he would not just rule over one kingdom or one people, but his kingdom would be such that it extends over the entire earth. So Daniel has this vision looking forward, and a lot we could say about the context there. Daniel was written at a time of great political instability, and Israel was really at a very low point politically and in terms of their national identity. and their place in the world stage, and so on and so forth. And Daniel then has this vision in which this future king would rise to power and would have authority over all peoples, languages, nations, and all the nations would bow before him. So there's this picture of power and strength and might that this Son of Man would have. The Son of Man, there's kind of two ideas that hinge together here. There's his humanity is emphasized in the title, that he's a Son of Man, but his role as king and ruler over the nations is also central to the idea of the Son of Man. Now, the question is, how does this relate to Jesus? And the answer to that question is found when we go back to, we got to go back to our text, Luke 9. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's go back to our search. When we look at the way that the title Son of Man is used, especially when we look at how Jesus uses the title for himself, Jesus over and over again emphasizes that he is the Son of Man. He is that person that Daniel envisioned. He is the king that Daniel was looking forward to. He's the king that had come to rule the nations. But here's where Jesus really upset all expectations and all the assumptions about the kind of person the Son of Man would be. When you imagine a king to come to rule over the nations, you would naturally envision someone who was, maybe very, very wealthy and powerful with great military might. You would imagine someone who'd be maybe a charismatic leader who could then rise to power, because after all, if you're going to rise to a place of prominence and power such that you have authority over all the nations, you need to be a character of considerable force and strength. So that's what everybody was anticipating this person to be. Jesus repeatedly shows that he is the Son of Man, that he in one sense he's emphasizing his humanity, in another sense he's emphasizing his role as king over the nations. But look at this. I want to show you what else Jesus emphasizes when he talks about the Son of Man. The Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. There's this sense that this great and powerful king doesn't even have a place to call his home. Let's see. Oops, we got to go. Having trouble scrolling here. In our text in Luke, Jesus emphasizes that the Son of Man would be betrayed. He would be handed over. He would be rejected. And that's what Jesus also emphasizes. His role as the Son of Man would be his suffering. So again, I can show you here. The Son of Man, the Passover is coming. The Son of Man will be delivered up to be crucified. The Son of Man will be betrayed. The Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. We go a little bit further. Son of Man will be delivered into the hands of men. This is Mark's gospel. Delivered over to the chief priests. The Son of Man came to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. Repeatedly, Jesus emphasizes that not only is he human, not only is he frail, does he take on human frailty and human weakness, not only has he come to be king over the nations, but as king and as a Son of Man, his role and the pathway that he would be called to walk would be to experience incredible suffering, incredible betrayal, ultimately culminating in his death. So in that sense, Jesus, as the Son of Man, Jesus completely disrupted every expectation, every assumption, every preconceived idea of what the Son of Man would be like. What Jesus is showing in just a very short summary here, Jesus is showing that the pathway and the way to to greatness, you might say, the pathway to his sovereignty and his authority and his power over all the nations, that pathway would be a pathway that would go through suffering. That is the biblical pattern. We often like to suppose that God intends and desires for us to have a life that's reasonably comfortable and happy and free from inconvenience and any kind of minor annoyance. But really, Jesus is showing that the pathway that he came to walk, and then if you put it in the context of Luke 9 and Jesus saying, you have to take up your cross and follow after me, what Jesus is showing is that the true path to greatness is through serving, through suffering, and even experiencing rejection. When we experience those things and when we walk that path, that becomes then the path that Jesus himself walked for us. That becomes the path that leads us to the kind of greatness that the Son of Man embodies. Hey, thanks for watching. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. I love knowing, leave a comment too. I like knowing and hearing what you're thinking, your thoughts, questions, ideas, pushback, whatever. Leave it in the comments. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.